Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is Three Buck Theater. And yesterday, I was surprised. I was shocked that the Disney earnings call happened. I thought it was next week, and so I was already out. I already put the podcast out yesterday, and I was like already done recording for the day. And then, of course, I start hearing word of what's going to be going on over at Disney with Bob Iger and what's he talking about in regards to Star Wars. And I see all these headlines pop up and everything talking about how Star Wars is going to focus more on Disney Plus. It's gonna start scaling it back and focusing on the small screen versus the big screen, and is the future of Star Wars TV and not movies. And the truth of the matter to that is, yeah, 100%. And I think a lot of us saw that coming. I mean, like the thing is like, they told us we were going to find out who the next director of Star Wars is going to be in January. It's now February 5th. The earnings call came and went, and they didn't talk about that. Bob Iger didn't bring it up. Nobody asked him that question, as far as I know. Now, there's another like shareholder thing or another thing happening here with Bob Iger, I think in the next couple of weeks, and somebody may put out that information, or they might put out that information. But what that tells me right now is that with the departure of Dan and Dave, that has absolutely fundamentally set things back. So much so that if Kathy doesn't actually get on that right away and get on solidifying a director, I would think that at this particular point, what they're going to do is it's going to pass her by. But I have another theory of that too. Real quick, I'll quickly touch on that, then I'll jump into the whole Mandalorian news. The Oscars are on Sunday, and if Rian Johnson wins Best Original Screenplay for Knives Out, of which, to be fair, it was a fantastic movie. I really loved it. It's possible that his trilogy will be back on because he'll be an award winner, and he'll do something completely unrelated to the Skywalker saga, and they may be willing to make that a thing again. And I know a lot of you out there are going to sit there and go, no, but wait and see. I think they're waiting for the Oscars. I think they're waiting for that to pass. I think they're really waiting for that to go to happen for Rise of Skywalker to maybe earn Best Original Score, Best VFX or something, and then they're going to drop the news. But I think it does boil down to Rian Johnson and Knives Out and whether or not they can court him back, because I feel like at this point Kathy wants to play it safe. Anyway, let's talk about the Mandalorian and what Bob Iger is what he's mulling around, because this is going to be fascinating stuff. And as we get further into the lifespan of Star Wars on Disney Plus, this is obviously something that's going to be potentially happening, and something that, believe it or not, Mikey Sutton has been dropping some information on that gets laughed at by other scoopers. But looking at this info, we might be able to get an idea. Now, it says here, the exec also unveiled when, okay. Anyway, on Tuesday, Disney CEO Bob Iger teased when season 2 of The Mandalorian will debut, and also revealed that the studio was considering spin-off shows based on his character, saying in the call that the Mando returns in October, saying here that including the possibility of infusing it with more characters and taking those characters in their own direction in terms of series. Now, he talks here, they go on to talk more about everything. But here's the reason why that's fascinating. Because Disney Plus has reached 28.6 million subscribers as of Monday, less than 3 months after launch. They were hoping for 10 million in the first 6 months. They were hoping for quite a bit. So yes, this is taking a huge chunk out of a lot of potential, streaming services getting that subscription money. But I also think that a lot of people are going to be pulling the plug on Disney Plus if the new content doesn't keep coming in, or if they don't find a way to change the bit rate, because I don't need to watch everything in 4K, and it's killing me in regards to my data usage. But that being said, everything else here talks more about Marvel, and that's interesting as well, mostly because there's I think 7 more shows in development, again showing you that they are putting a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of emphasis into this particular situation. And it's fascinating to see. It really is. It's fascinating to see, because when you look at something like this, when you start thinking about where Disney Plus is going to take the Marvel and Star Wars franchise, it's going to, like, again, people aren't going to the theaters as much, but they'll go at home and they'll watch something. Adam Sandler's Murder Mystery, 83 million households in the first weekend, right? The Witcher was like, I think 100 million households or something like that in the first weekend. People watch this stuff, they binge it, they dive into it and they love it. And as a result of that, it means sustained membership, which means Disney's going to make a lot of money. Think about that. Let's just say roughly, 29, they say 28 million households, right? 28 million paid accounts. Let's say on average $7 an account. How much money is that? How much money is that a month? Right? I mean, that is a lot of effing money a month. That's a lot of effing money. So anyway, Mando, as we're talking about Mando. I've seen people not like the idea of spinning off the show. I've seen people say this is a bad idea. They shouldn't be putting other characters in. They should be its own thing. Move away. To that, I say, no. I'm actually 100% on board with them taking characters post Return of the Jedi and showing us what happened to them. And here's exactly why it's going to happen. The Last Jedi. It's all because of The Last Jedi. I know you might be thinking, you're wrong. No, I'm right. I'm 100% right. It's going to happen because of The Last Jedi, because of how they handled Luke, how they handled Leia, how we didn't get that closure, so to speak, how we didn't see everyone together again, how we didn't get all of these things that people really, 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 really wanted. So why not continue the adventures of Luke and Lando and Chewie and whatever after the events of Return of the Jedi? Mandalorian is set 5 years post the fall of the Empire. We know that. People are thinking that there's going to be that was Boba Fett popping up on Tatooine in episode 5. That's a very hardcore working theory, which could potentially take place. I don't know. And there's also been the reports from Mikey Sutton that they are working on putting together a Lando Calrissian series starring Donald Glover. And I talked about this a few months ago. The video got like literally no traction, but I talked about it a couple months ago. And when Iger says we're considering the possibility of putting in other characters and spinning them off, a Lando show makes sense. And there was even a line of dialogue about that too in The Rise of Skywalker when they were on Pisana, and Lando says that they knew about Ochi's dagger because Luke and Lando were hunting Ochi. So think about that. Really think about that. When that line popped up in the movie, I immediately thought back to that scoop that Mikey had given me. The scoop about Lando having a TV show and Luke. And I'm like, wait, everyone's been talking about Sebastian Stan playing a young Luke Skywalker because they look very similar and he's about age appropriate to take place after the events of Return of the Jedi. So why not just have Sebastian Stan play young Luke Skywalker and go out there and go on the, his adventures to rebuild the Jedi Temple and to restart the Jedi Order and everything else he does in regards to trying to put a stop to the Empire and what happens after that, because it actually was a part of the EU. And we know that they are wanting to go back to the EU and pull out certain elements. And this just seems like where they are going to realistically go. It just makes the most amount of sense. So introducing Donald Glover as a little bit older Lando Calrissian in I think it's like 10 years later from the events of Solo or something like that. Because I think Solo took place 5 years before the events of A New Hope or something like that. I forget the exact difference, but they could make him a little bit older, put a little gray in his hair, whatever, it's fine. And then give us a Lando show. Have Lando and Luke Skywalker team up. Imagine Mandalorian season 2, Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker pops up, right? He's looking for Jedis. He's looking for Force sensitive people. Why not take Baby Yoda to him? This is where things are going to go. I know people out there don't want that necessarily. They want something separate from the Skywalker saga because Mandalorian is just so good. But Disney loves its synergy. Disney loves the connected nature of it all, and they still want to turn Star Wars into the MCU. So having all that tie together in a way that's going to flesh out the story and give people what they want, yeah, I think they're going to do it. I think what he's talking about, those characters, introducing those characters, he's introducing the OT characters. Maybe giving us the Mara Jade storyline, maybe finding a way to bring Thrawn back after the events of Rebels, introducing that whole thing, giving us that. I mean, probably slightly different, but still, having Han and Leia make an appearance and maybe meeting baby Kylo at some point in time. Trust me, this kind of stuff is going to happen. The popularity of Mandalorian almost at this point demands it. But as always, I am curious to know your guys' thoughts. I'm curious to know your guys' opinions and your theories. You guys may agree, you may disagree, and that is entirely great. I want to hear all of your thoughts. So leave your comments below. I want to hear them. I will talk to you all later. Have yourself a great day. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and may the force be with you.